Hey everybody, small announcement with some pretty cool news. The KAAMP is now a part of the Podnooga podcast network. That's a podcast network based out of Chattanooga, and I am super happy to be on board with these cats. They seem pretty cool. They're letting me do what I do. And so the thing now is I will have sponsors, and there will be sponsors at the beginning of the episodes and coupon codes and all that jazz. So this is a one-time message about this goodness, and sponsors will be at the beginning of the episode. That way I do not touch the continuity of the conversations in the way I like to present them, unedited mostly, and continuous. So thank you, Podnooga. Thank you, listeners. Thank you, current and future sponsors. Here we go. I have a sponsor now, and it is Sagen Financial Group. And what I am presenting to you on their behalf is their tax service, Relax Tax. Relax Tax by Sagen Financial Group is a service where you submit your tax information online, and it is processed by their tax specialists. And you only get a phone call or an appointment when you request one, completely on your schedule. And as a listener of the KAAMP podcast, you get 10% off Relax Tax by Sagen Financial. Just go to relaxtax.com. That's RELAXEDTAX.com. That's relaxtax.com, and use the coupon code KAAMP in the tax client intake form. Sagen Financial Group is a local Chattanooga business serving all 50 states, and part of the proceeds will go directly to supporting the KAAMP, which I greatly appreciate. I'll put a link in the show notes so everybody knows what's up. Websites, coupon codes, all that jazz. So thank you for being a sponsor, Sagen Financial Group, and get your taxes done, everybody. That way we both know that the recording is happening, and I can get rid of these headphones.
Sounds good.
Because I don't always enjoy listening through the headphones. I like hearing people talk. All right. So, all right. Let's do this now. I think I can be comfortable. Okay. Hello.
So, hello.
All right, everybody. This is Thomas, and this is the next episode of the KAAMP. That is the Knoxville Area Artist Networking Platform podcast thing. And today we are somewhere I've never been, a.k.a. Mighty Mud. And we are here with my second ceramicist, if you like that label.
Oh, yeah.
Excellent. Garrett Derland was the first one, so just a little recap. If anybody hasn't listened to that, go listen to one of the first episodes of Garrett Derland. But today, we're here, and would you please introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Callie Goetz, and I am the Nuclear Potter.
The Nuclear Potter.
Yeah.
That's a self-appointed title, right?
It is a self-appointed title, so pottery is actually not my day job. I'm a nuclear physicist, and there are not that many of us around the world, so I kind of figure that, I'm pretty safe in saying the Nuclear Potter.
That's like me saying I'm Knoxville's favorite Zamboni driver.
Yeah, right, yeah, exactly.
There's only a couple of us, and I don't know how many people don't like me, but...
Not a lot of competition.
No. I'll get a cheering section one day. So, do you want to talk about the day job in relation to your art? Do they mix at all?
They do mix.
Okay,
so, great. I guess one of the things that really draws me to pottery is that it is a very kind of scientific... We're the nerds of the art world. It's all chemistry. It's all, and temperature and, and how all that interacts. And so it relates a lot to what I do with work, but there's also this kind of alchemy thing where you start adding in the fire and you get the spirit of that.
You don't always know what things are going to look like when they come out of the kiln.
Yeah, no, it's I do mostly wood firing. which we've got a soundtrack. So I do mostly wood firing. So I put things in this. There are two styles of wood kiln that I use. It's a train kiln and a downdraft kiln, and both of them, you're feeding the fire for at least 18 hours, if not a couple of days, 3 days, and about 30% of the things come out just incredibly beautiful, and 30% are like, oh yeah, this is nice, and 30% you.
It's an ashtray.
Yeah, no, literally. No, it will be covered in ash, and it will cut you.
So what? Beyond what you just stated, what other interplays between these two proficiencies you have are there?
Oh gosh, so creativity, I'd say, because in my work I do research, so I'm trying to think of new things to do and to push the bounds
Right.
of our knowledge, as humans, and to provide us with clean power. That's one of the big things that I do as a nuclear physicist, so it's that creativeness does translate really well over to pottery, over to art. And ever since I was a little kid, I was always that kid who was sitting and drawing or painting, and so there's not really a big separation between the two.
Well, that's great, because I feel like so the professional life and the personal life and the creative and how those lines get drawn, I always feel like it's more fun when those lines get blurred a lot.
Yeah.
Because your brain's always working on the stuff your brain's working on. It's just what's the task at hand
Oh,
is really
yeah.
the application.
So, funnily enough, one of kind of the big parts of my job is I design detectors to go inside of operating nuclear reactors, both the current fleet and the future fleet. And a while back, we were talking about, the kilns that we use, the wood kilns, they get up to the same temperatures as inside of a nuclear reactor.
No way.
So we were kind of talking could we instrument a firing in the train kiln here at Mighty Mud, and to test some of our sensors, and to give the folks here at Mighty Mud a good idea of this is the temperature in this part of the kiln, and this is the temperature in this part of the
Right.
kiln.
But then you take those things into the scientific environment and be
Yeah.
like, hey, I know this will work here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's there's a lot of overlap.
Could you get some handmade instruments inside of a reactor?
Handmade? You mean pottery?
Yes,
Pottery,
that's exactly what I'm talking about. If we're shooting for the stars here, literally.
We do put a lot of ceramics, and we do use a lot of ceramics in
insulation
nuclear
tiles
reactors.
and all that,
So I'd be a little hesitant to. No, no.
I wish
you
I could show
couldn't.
y'all
No.
how she's mulling this over in her brain right now. There's a lot of physical motion with this bob, a lot of bobbing and weaving and just shaking the head. So I like that.
Not in a power reactor, that
Right.
much is for sure. In a small test reactor at a university where they just kind of, the point is you put things in and see what happens. Yeah, maybe. But
Well,
no.
TVA don't need this. We know it.
No.
So one of the things that really drew me to your work, as I was checking it out and shooting you a message and doing all the things that I do, this was another message into the ether, everyone. So the internet was the facilitator here, and luckily she said yes, like most people do. But the face steins are always entertaining, but you have a slight macabre sort of edge to some of your
My
work.
mother hates it.
Oh, I love it. That's really the thing that sealed the deal to have you on the thing for me, is because some of these have little skulls and spiders, and they look like they should be on somebody's shelf that isn't exactly up to no good,
Oh, yeah.
And that really entertains me when they have that sort of edge about them.
My monster steins and cups. And
Yeah.
I was working on this, the set of cups I was thinking Light Witch, Dark Witch. So, one was kind of like Beauty and the Beast, where it's white porcelain and gold, and with gold, where I can actually paint real gold on and build it. And the other one was a skull with bear clay that I had washed so it looked like bones, and so that really does interest me.
So that's an aesthetic you like to play with.
Oh yeah, I love it.
Big smile on her face right now, everybody. So what about that really gets you?
I don't know. Because there definitely is a draw. Because I keep doing it.
Yeah, exactly. It definitely is. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a little. I think it's a little bit of the interplay between fine art and horror.
Some could argue there's a lot of overlap.
Yeah, and that's an interesting thing for me to explore.
Yeah.
And it's what it's why I like making my monsters so much. My monster studs.
So when you're making these things, do you pull inspiration from pop culture and social media, or is it more of like, this is the creepy stuff I've seen in my head this week, I'm going to make something like this?
I don't think you can ever really escape pop culture.
I agree. The environment is always an influence.
Yeah, I'm sure it's back there, but it's something that I see in my brain, and it needs to get out.
So,
better out than in.
With that being said,
Yeah.
Do you find a lot of like flow state or zen in your workflow while you're sitting at the wheel doing your thing?
Yeah, that's what I love most about pottery, actually, is that it is completely zen. I mean, whether I'm throwing or trimming or doing the sculpting on a pot, I lose all track of time, and my brain is working in a very different way from work, where I'm not like feeling very task oriented and
So is pottery jazz?
Yeah.
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 I feel
that's
like
a great,
it is.
That's a great that's a great description of it. Yeah.
This is honestly one of my favorite questions, and I'm glad we got to it right off the top.
Yeah.
Because when I make the art that I make, I really enjoy finding a place where I don't have to think about the things that are going on around me. I can just think and react to the thing going on in front of me.
Yeah.
And I'm always curious to pick the brain of other creative people and see where, if at all, they have that in their creative flow of things.
Oh, yeah.
So apparently you have it a lot.
Oh, yeah, I do. And, so at work, I have projects that go over years, and they require a huge amount of planning and collaboration. And, and here I'm coming in and I'm working on a single pot will take me weeks from start to finish, but, kind of what's this thing that's right in front of me. It has a very firm start and an end.
Yeah.
And that is refreshing to me.
Especially in contrast of working on the professional projects when they can be years long, multinational things. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Lots of moving parts
you
that are
see
very
the
administrative.
results for 5 years or if it's a reactor for 30.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, do you have a favorite part of the process?
Throwing. Well, okay. That's
This
my
suddenly
favorite
became a
child.
more
You're asking me
complicated
to
question.
choose my favorite child.
Yes, I am. That's why this is a conversation.
Oh man, that's so hard because I love throwing. It's probably the most peaceful part, but the sculpting I can't stop. If that makes any kind of sense.
I think it does.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's look at it like this. When you're in the middle of your sculpting, do you find a point to where you see it and you're like, oh shit, if I do anything else, I'm going to screw it up? Or
I do that with throwing.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
there's a point in throwing where the clay is just going to be like, fuck you.
Okay. Is it like too dry? What's the scenario there?
Yeah, it gets overworked.
Okay.
Clay, like the way potters talk about clay is like it's kind of alive. It gets tired. The clay clay has memory, and so if you're throwing clay and it gets a little overworked, we call that tired clay, and then it flops over. If you have a pot even wet and you kind of bump it a little bit, and you're like, oh no, here, let me smooth that back out. That clay is going to remember that.
Yeah.
And it will the first time you fire it, it will go put that bump right back in.
No way.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so annoying.
Sounds kind of ornery.
Yeah, and I actually work with the most ornery clay.
Oh, so you had to make it hard.
Yeah, I couldn't make it easy on myself.
Like I woke up today and chose violence.
Yes. I work with porcelain for the most part. It's my favorite clay to work with. I do some stoneware and stuff too, but porcelain, it's oh gosh, it's she's a cruel, cruel mistress. She'll flop over, much more readily than other types of clay, and crack and do all sorts of weird stuff. But when you get it right, it is luminous.
Yeah.
Like the light will shine through it, and it's just like it's breathtaking. And so I don't know, can't not work with it.
You remember the first time you realized that?
Yeah. So I've been there. So there's a wonderful artist here named Maggie Connolly. She has her PhD from Japan.
Okay.
And she's a porcelain artist. And she was like, I'm going to do a 2-day. She's a good friend of mine. And she's like, I'm going to do a 2-day porcelain workshop. And I'm like, I am in.
Me.
Because I'd been wanting to work with porcelain for so long and just was intimidated by it. And the first time I got my hands on it, it's like, yeah, this is
the stuff.
Yeah.
I like this forever.
Exactly. Yeah. It's smooth as butter, in both very good ways and very bad ways.
Yeah. In all the ways to delight and infuriate.
Yeah,
you.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So, when is the next point in which you find yourself hard to stop? What is the next Zen state thing in this workflow for you?
So trimming is Zen.
Yeah.
So you throw a pot and then you let it dry for a little bit, and this is where pottery gets really annoying. So you let it dry. It has to be the perfect amount. It can't be too dry.
Right, because that's different for every piece, right?
Yeah.
You just got to know the
yeah,
finesse
it's
of
a
it.
thing you get the the feel for. Like, oh, this pot, we are ready. And so then you kind of go and you clean up everything. You put the you put the nice bottom in and make it go from kind of this thing that's like has a kind of one with the thing you throw the vat, we call them, these plates that you throw things on.
Yeah. These dartboard looking things.
Yeah,
right?
that's exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's it's right there in front of you. That big orange dartboard.
Yeah.
And make it look like a pot. Then it has to dry a little bit more, and that's when I can do the sculpting. So the trimming is definitely the next stage, because you're just, it's a thing that's spinning. It's hypnotic. It's spinning in front of you, and you have these little sharp tools, and you're just shaving off little bits of clay, and then you kind of look at it, and you shave off a little bit more, and yeah.
So that's a finesse and familiarity process as well.
Oh yeah. Every step. Yeah.
So do all the steps give you their own kind of fits?
Definitely.
Yeah.
There are pitfalls in every step, and then there are fun things in every step.
The more we talk about this, the more it sounds like this is a process where every step is get it right the first time, or else start all over again.
Yes. Oh yeah. You can't get attached to pots. They cannot be your babies until it's done. You just have to be ready to chuck that thing against the wall.
Or watch it burn,
smash it, rip it apart. I just before you came, I was trimming. I'm working on little lamps. These are porcelain lamps that they'll glow, and they're meant to look like sea anemones. Like little white skeletons of sea anemones. Because I found some driftwood at a beach when I went earlier this year. And so I'm going to put them on this driftwood and going to make it look like little glowing sea creatures are attached.
I think that sounds really cool.
Thank you. I'm really excited about it. But both the pots were like, nope.
Not today.
Not today.
They wag their finger at you.
Yeah, so I got to rip them apart and check, I did pretty well on that wall thickness. It's pretty even. Yeah, that's the little nugget you get.
Right, yeah, because there's things to be learned here. You just have to destroy it first.
Right. Yeah. I trimmed it just a little too thin on one part, and
that was it.
Nope.
That's all she wrote.
Exactly.
Oh goodness. So, where's the next thing?
The next thing is then. And not all potters do this, is the sculpting. And, that's where I really try to give my pieces life. So I'll draw on there with liquid clay if I'm like trying to go for, kind of like a painted or drawn look. Like I'll make the clay that I take, that I used to throw and grind it up and make it real smooth, and then like draw it on. Or I'll, sculpt the faces and attach them that way. So that I can get lost in.
Is it really hard not to get attached to them right then after you give them the character that they've got?
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. That is a point where, like, if a handle cracks, then I'm sad.
Yeah.
Because I've now put so many hours into this pot. Yeah.
So if we could look at the shelf there,
Yeah.
give me a frame of reference for how many hours of work is on this shelf.
Oh my gosh.
And just so people know what I'm looking at, there's like 7 big things up top and countless smaller things, and
So up top,
there's like
some
20
of those
pieces on this shelf
are my
total.
studio baits. Oh gosh, there's like over 100 hours of work on the shelf right now. This represents, I've been saving up, so all the kind of white pieces that you see, they're
Yeah.
all porcelain, and I've been working on this for months. Yeah.
So how many porcelain pieces are up there? I see 3 from here, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9,
1, 2,
10.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And yeah, I've got 2 steins, an urn, 4 mugs, 3 lamps. No, a couple more lamps up top, or those are more luminaries.
Okay,
But-
so plenty of items,
Yeah.
lots of work,
Yeah.
and I'm surprised you still have your hair.
Yeah. It's covered in clay, so
Well-
it's a nice like clay helmet going. Yeah, and I'm trying to tear it out.
But it's luminous.
Yeah, right.
You radiate.
Yeah, it's only luminous when you fire it. Don't want to stick my head in the fire.
Yeah, that's fair.
If I can help it.
But the kilns do look really nice when they're on fire.
Yeah.
I have experience doing glasswork, so like firing things is
Oh,
a process
yeah.
I'm not unfamiliar with. I'm not as familiar with it as you are, but like I've stuck things in and watched them deform and
Yeah.
and be really disappointed, and then the next thing comes out just like you thought.
Right.
I've had both extremes of the scenario for sure.
Opening a kiln for us potters, especially a wood kiln, it's like Christmas morning.
Oh, every time.
You
Yeah.
know, and it's to fire a kiln, it takes, the wood kiln, it takes multiple potters, a couple of weeks of prep. We have to chop all of our own wood and grind all the shelves down in the kiln and do all sorts of prep in there. And then there's the days of firing, and then you have to wait a week.
For everything to cool down.
For it to cool down,
Yeah.
just as, an additional little bit of torture. And so, yeah.
Yes.
So when you can unbrick the door and go in, because these are big enough you can climb inside, and I always feel a little bit like Hansel and Gretel, like it's
So,
going to get me.
When you started getting into this, did
Yeah.
you realize it was such a time-intensive and patience-intensive process?
I don't know that. No, I don't
So
think
you,
I knew
you
what
just
I was.
went in full
Yeah,
board
I
blind.
did.
So I'm going to do this, and then you're like, well, I'm going to do this next week.
So and this is definitely relating back to, by my work as well, because this was one of the things that makes me a good scientist. Not I hope I'm a good scientist, but is that I want to do it right.
Yeah. And if patience is what that demands,
Yeah.
then so be it. Damn.
By golly, I'll have it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. I think that's a really valuable viewpoint to have. Whatever the project needs is what
Yeah.
you're going to provide to it.
Right. If you're gonna do it right.
Yeah.
I've learned as much as I can. One of the wonderful things about being here in a community studio is that there are so many potters around. So of varying skill levels and having done kind of different experiences and working with different parts of the ceramic process, and so there's just so much to learn from, and so you can, that's why I live here.
So, in your own words, can you tell people sort of what Mighty Mud is about?
Yeah.
Since I've never been here or had anybody that works here on the program,
So Mighty Mud, we are a community studio, and we have these little cubicles inside for artists who we live here. We rent space, and so we rent little kind of studio nooks, but we also do 6-week classes where you can come and you can learn to throw from I've never touched clay before to and that's actually how I got my start, is I just took those 6-week classes until I was like, I can do this. I don't need to be.
and then you found a corner and was like, this is
And then
my
I
corner now.
found my hidey hole. Yeah. And then they're also just like half-day workshops where it's like you get to come in and throw a bowl, a plate, and a cup, and then we'll fire it for you, and then 6 weeks later, whatever, or not 6 weeks, probably a few weeks later,
When
go
you
home.
forget you made it, we'll call you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. Right when you despair that you're never going to get that thing. Yeah.
The phone will ring. Yeah. Of
Yeah.
course. So, do you have any inspirations from outside? Obviously, nature is one of them.
Yeah.
But are there any living or dead artists that you find really inspirational work-wise?
Oh man, yeah. So yes, so there. I've always loved the Impressionists, and so like if I'm painting something on with underglaze, which is like a clay paint, I definitely like kind of I lean towards that style. In terms of clay artists, there are so many. There's Danny Meisinger. He throws these beautiful, enormous pots. I mean, they'll be taller than you. And
for reference, everybody, I'm 6'4".
yeah.
That's a big pot.
And oh gosh, there's a porcelain artist, and I'm blanking on her name. She does these amazing, just like very vivid porcelain. I mean, they're pots, but they're almost sculptural. Like it's like a pot has become fire.
Right.
And it's just like this organic movement in her pots. And I'm really embarrassed that I'm not dragging up her name.
That's okay. If you remember it later, just put it in there.
Yeah.
So, you haven't always worked with ceramics, right?
No. Yeah.
So, can you take us through a little tour of what other mediums you've used in your creative life?
So I've done lots of drawing, both with like pencil and like colored pencil and charcoal. And so, in college, I took lots of art classes in college, and that was most of what I did, was especially drawing and
Where'd
charcoal.
you go to school?
So I went to Middlebury for physics, and then I attended Dartmouth for electrical engineering for this dual degree program that I didn't finish the second year because I was out of money. But getting a second bachelor's degree.
I dare anybody to shake a finger at you now.
Yeah. No, I mean, I got a PhD in the
Seems
end,
it worked out.
Yeah, exactly. It's fine.
So is that it? Pencils? A lot
Yeah,
of like that?
and some paint, some oil paint. My mother was teasing me the other day. She's like, she's telling me that because as I've mentioned, when I get into things, I'm like, I'm gonna do this great. Like, like, yeah, she was saying, like, Callie with her colored pencil phase, and then her charcoal phase, and then her oil paint phase, and then her, needlepoint phase, which I got really into in the pandemic because, you can't leave your house, and I just had to have something to do with my hands or else I was gonna lose it.
Yeah.
And and she's like, well, what's next? Is it going to be fiber arts? And I'm like, you better watch out, Mom.
Don't tempt me.
Yeah. Because my studio mate here, Rose Downs, who's a wonderful potter, but she's also a fiber artist, and she spins and weaves. And I'm like, I know someone who could teach me. Like, if you don't push me, I'll do it.
I know who to call.
Yeah, exactly. Better watch out.
So I'm not surprised to hear you say that you have history with oil paints, considering you also have immeasurable amounts of patience.
Yeah.
So where did your scientific self and your creative self sort of divulge away from each other, like career path or personality wise?
So in college I did a lot of art classes. And I also got certified as an EMT in college because I was playing with like, hey, maybe I want to be a medical doctor. And then after college, I moved down to Peru and volunteered in the health clinic down there for a while.
Did that fix that ambition?
Oh, yeah. I got so burnt out. I was like, so I came back and I'm like, fuck it, no, I'm going to go to grad school. I'm going to, in the most sterile thing I can think of, which is physics. And I'd been, studying physics and doing internships in physics all along, too. So it wasn't like it was completely foreign.
So you felt really safe in this decision.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I would, at health clinic, we didn't have running water most of the time, much less, like, gloves. We were treating TB patients. We didn't have masks, to protect ourselves.
So it was a very polarizing environment.
It was intense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and really, when I hit grad school, I stopped taking art classes, and when I graduated and I was working for a couple of years, it was just there was something missing.
Mm-hmm.
And I really, like, I feel like they're kind of like two parts of my soul.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. And I'm not, and I need the science, but I need the art. And I was very much incomplete without the art. And so I'd been kind of eyeing Mighty Mud for a while. I came here and did a kind of one-night raku class here with some friends. I'm like, oh, I like it. And then I was like, spent a while trying to convince some friends to like any friend to come take a pottery class with me. I don't know why I felt like I needed to have, like a support.
Well, the company's nice.
Yeah, exactly.
Company is always nice.
Yeah, but I ended up just just taking one of the 6-week classes, and first day I was like, I love this.
Oh no.
Yeah, right.
I'm in deep.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what happened. I just kind of dove in. Yeah.
Well, I mean, when you find something you like, you might as well, right?
Yeah.
I think it's a fun thing to realize when people have those aspects of their personality, when they sort of go their separate ways, and then when they come back somehow, because usually some really cool life stuff happens in between those 2 points.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And it sounds like for you that was college and early in your career, and then you were just like, well, shit.
Yeah.
And then when these aspects of yourself came back together, you found out that, like, this is how I want to be.
Found the missing piece. Yeah, refound
exactly.
the missing piece, because I'd been into art since I was a kid. It was weird that I
wasn't doing art for some period of time.
I think grad school was just so consuming. It like I didn't even I'd love to read, and I just, like, I wasn't even reading, which is now is like, how could I not have been reading?
Right.
Like,
it sounds so foreign to say that about yourself.
Like, I guess I was just working all the time and didn't have any mental space. It just was, grad school's brutal.
Yeah. I've heard a lot of people talk highly and very dismissively of grad school about how it just sort of rules your life.
Oh yeah. I mean, like, it's a great vehicle to get where you want to be. Because right now in my career, I get to choose every project that I work on.
Ooh, what a luxury.
Yeah, no, it really is. And I get, so, like, every bit of research that I'm doing, I'm excited about.
Right, because you said, I want to do this.
Yeah. And that also is, as I said, it's a form of creativity,
right.
And because I get to come up with the new ideas, and but you don't get to do that without grad school. You don't get to apply for the $1 million+ grants and have that freedom. So I mean, grad school, like, I'm really glad I did it. But oh god, it was pain.
Yeah. So while you were in it, it was terrible, but now it affords you luxuries that you're very thankful to have.
Yeah, exactly.
Excellent. Yeah. So, where are some avenues in your creative expression that you're pushing your limits? Not so much the limits of pottery as a whole, but where are you really pushing yourself?
So these lamps that I've been working on, it's hard. They have to be very, very thin. Porcelain's hard to work with, and to get a lamp that is going to shine like I want it to, and have this very kind of glowy, luminous quality.
I just hear how you picked a really hard target and set the bar really high. That's what I hear right now. You said, I'm going to do this really difficult thing, and I'm going to try and do it really, really well.
Yeah, it's like a twitch.
Yeah. This is how I torture myself, everybody.
Yeah. But I love it.
Right, of course. Or else you wouldn't be doing it in the first place.
What's wrong with me?
Yes, exactly. Ask myself that every day.
Yeah. Like, I mean, there's definitely like a thread of masochism that runs through
A thread?
science.
That's like half of the weave. What are you talking about?
Yeah, exactly. And and it comes in my art too.
So, is size well, size and proportions are obviously difficult, right?
Yeah.
Because they're small and they have to be thin.
Yeah.
So that makes all by itself just a whole degree of difficulty.
Yeah. I'm trying to go big and thin. That is, yeah.
So, so if I can make assumptions, after you get that off the wheel, then firing is the pain in the ass on that one, right?
Yeah. Like even walking it to the firing shelf.
Oh, right. Because moving it at that point is dangerous.
Like it's clay is at its like the pieces that they're most delicate, really, when they're what we call bone dry. So this is the point where they're completely dry. You've done all the trimming and the sculpting or whatever it is you're going to do to it. You have to let it completely dry and you put it in the kiln for the first time. And if it's not completely dry, it's going to explode and take out everyone else's pieces, and everyone will hate you.
Have you had that happen?
Yes, I've once.
You've done it or been a victim of?
Both. Oh gosh, I've been the victim of it many times. This is one of the downsides of working in a community
studio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have newbies who. Yeah.
So you get really cautious when you fire stuff with other people?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Scope them out from across the studio. I don't know if I want to fire my stuff with yours. Right. Maybe next time.
Nope. Yeah. No, you can't come in this kiln. So we kind of do that. I have a wood firing group.
Yeah.
We're very selective about who we let in this wood firing group.
Well, I feel like that's understandable.
Yeah.
It's like
but you're also spending a lot of time together as you're chopping the wood and stacking the wood and cleaning the kiln.
Yeah, and we're all trying to avoid mass chaos
here. Yeah. And, mass murder when someone's piece explodes and, takes out everyone else's month's worth of work.
Yeah, right. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
The glares.
Yeah.
Daggers.
Oh,
Straight daggers. Oh, my God.
There's a wonderful artist named Don Reed who, that man, he's going to be famous someday, like, hands down. But he lives up on the plateau, and he's built a kiln up there, and that's the private wood firing group. And, so that's
the cool kids.
Yeah, that's the cool kids club. Yeah. We're a clique. We're very exclusive.
You can't sit with us.
Yeah. Keep your pots away. Yeah.
So, if large lamps are where you're really trying to push, what are the things you do for comfort?
What's that?
Okay. Well, do you ever have a project with a sense of safety where you're just like, oh, I know I can do this and it's going to work and I'm comfortable with every step of the process?
The cups.
Okay.
The cups, the steins. Those are like, and if I'm trying to give myself an easy day, or if I'm getting on the kiln and I haven't thrown in a little bit because I've been doing all the other processes which take weeks.
Right.
I'll throw some of the little cups like I've got up there. Just like coffee mug size, soup mug size. These are maybe a pound and a half of clay, and just they're not stressful.
Okay, so that's going through the motions. I'm gonna have fun with this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Do you do a lot of those? Like, how much do you hate yourself when you're doing these things? Do you work on stuff just to be like, today's gonna be rough, we're doing this?
Yeah.
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 You actively set out to do that?
I do. Yeah, I have a plan for the day, and I don't always meet that plan.
So are you at work right after lunch, like already hating yourself because you know what you're going to do on the wheel later?
Yeah, yeah, right. I don't know how much I'm going to just flagellate later. I don't say I don't hate any of the process. I'm always excited to do it, but I do, especially when working with porcelain and trying to do bigger porcelain, and the little sea anemone lamps that I was telling you about, they have an inverted rim.
Oh.
So that is, especially with porcelain, is really hard because you're purposefully trying to flop it, but not too much.
Right, you have to the controlled chaos there.
Yeah. So those I've been, and I'm gonna get it, but I've been struggling with those. Because of that geometry where you have to.
Well, how far is too far when
exactly.
you go
yeah,
to do that operation?
If it goes too far, it just.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that was more of the metaphorical. How far is too
Oh
far?
yeah.
But literally, yes, it all just folds
Yeah,
in on itself,
well-
and you're like, well, it's done now.
Yeah. That is what that is.
But I suppose that's one of those scenarios where it's like, well, if I do it to where the idea is represented, not so much that
Yeah.
the idea is executed
Right.
fully, then where's the gray area between those two things that work, visually?
Right. That's a good question. I always shoot for the moon. I mean, but as we mentioned, pottery, you can't get attached to any one individual pot. So potters, we tend to work on a form, and and keep iterating on the form until it's like, oh yeah, we got this
Yeah.
form. So I do a lot of big bowls. If I'm doing stoneware, I like to throw big, and so like big coffee table size bowls. And I've got a form that I worked on over and over and over again, and kept and struggled with because of course I tried to make the bowl like as flat as possible, which is hard because it just wants to
Right.
flop right over. And yeah, so I did it until I was able to do it
Steadily
repeatedly.
and reproduce that
Exactly.
actively and accurately.
And and kind of know every step of the way, because there's another opportunity to ruin it once you've thrown it and you put it on the shelf and you bump it and well, now that's fucked, but and then you trim it and you do a little too thin or a little wonky and you break it or trim through the bottom or something awful, but yeah. Figure out every step.
Do you ever find any beauty in those mistakes?
Oh yeah. There's one of my favorite pots, actually. It was the first big pot that I tried, like really big pot that I tried to throw. It's a big vase, and I flopped it. And it was the start, I guess, of my more macabre journey, where I flopped it. I was like, the way it flopped, I found kind of interesting.
So I want to stop you right there really quick, because I think we just had some potter jargon. Like you flopped it.
Yeah, yeah. It collapsed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that a term that people in your
Yeah. Yeah.
it's like, well, what happened? I flopped it.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's exactly. Yeah, thank you. I didn't even.
Yeah, that sounds like some medium specific jargon right there.
Yeah.
I had to pick that out.
It's very descriptive because the clay collapses. And,
If you were to look at it and not know the word, I'm pretty sure flop would be something that comes to mind pretty quick.
Right.
Yeah.
It makes that nice noise too.
Oh
when it
yeah, you're
goes.
right. It does.
It's
Just
very automatopoeia.
yeah.
But this pot, it collapsed, and I put faces in it. And the faces, I kind of tried to make them a little tortured and kind of like they were sleeping and trapped in this pot. And
On the inside?
or
Ooh.
like poking out. So
Okay.
and so it's a Janus face. It has three
Right.
faces,
Yeah.
and two men and one woman, and like, so people either love it or they hate it.
I would imagine that a lot of people have strong feelings
Yeah.
about the things that you
Possessed
make that
would
are a
be
little
the word that
creepy.
I've heard more than once.
Well, I mean, for any form to have three faces is pretty out there.
Yeah.
So I haven't seen this piece of work, so I can only imagine like, what this
It
could
is on
be.
my Instagram.
Ooh, I'll have to find it.
Yeah.
But I can imagine how this would upset the comfortable.
Oh yeah. But it is one of my favorite pieces, and and it did scratch that kind of macabre itch that I've just kept going with.
And you just kept pulling at that
Yeah.
string.
Yeah.
So what's the weird creepy shit right now?
Oh gosh. So, I haven't been doing much creepy at the moment. The reason being is I have a nephew who's due in May.
Okay.
So I've been making lamps for his bedroom, and creepy shit is
So
not
cutesy
suitable
shit.
for-
Cutesy shit's where it's at right now. Okay,
Yeah,
so the creepy shit right now is the cutesy shit.
Yeah, we're doing a little. I've been working on these mountain lamps, where I draw on mountains and with liquid clay, and then I paint on trees, and I carve out stars and the moon, so like it shines brighter through the spots I carved out,
Right.
and doesn't shine through the places where I've drawn on, and they're beautiful, but they're definitely not creepy.
They're the opposite of what
Yeah.
you would be making otherwise.
Yeah,
But since you have good motivation to do so.
Right. Yeah. I'd made a bunch of these weren't lamps, they were more luminaries because they were meant to have a candle in them, not be powered over Christmas, and they sold like freaking hotcakes. Yeah, like they were all gone. And so I was like, oh, maybe I should make some more of these.
Right. Were those like short and squat, tall and skinny, like
No,
short and squat things?
they were round. So there's this form called a moon vase that's like this very traditional Korean form, and it's round like the moon and has a lip on top and a lip on bottom. And so that was that's a hard thing to throw.
Are they spherical
yeah.
or are they ovoid?
Spherical.
Okay.
Yeah, is the goal. They can be ovoid, but the goal is to have it, kind of
a pretty uniform spherical shape.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And so I'd started making those, and because I can't stop, I'd done the sculpting and the carving thing, and and drawing on with the liquid clay, and
so here we go, all the techniques.
Yeah,
and
what this needs, it's more. I guess
Well, then you have that thought, and then you fight yourself until you think
no.
it's like, is it done, or did I break it? Like,
yeah. I mean, when the urge strikes, there's not a lot of fighting of myself that goes on. I tell you.
I always have the issue of like, I find a point where if I touch this again, it's ruined.
Yeah,
like, if I can't work out the next logical thing,
right,
then it's done. And I'll set it around, and if I can't think of the next logical thing for a couple of weeks, then it's really, really done.
With pottery, there's not that amount of time, because like you have these really short windows where you have to just do it.
Right.
So like, kind of whatever roll you're on, that's it.
You better run with it.
Yeah, exactly. And if it's too much, that pot goes to the bin. It's really fun to smash pots.
Yeah, it is. You're right. You get that real life Zelda game.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
You get to hear all that stuff in person.
It's especially great when they're, before you fire them the first time, because it's not yet stone. So if you
so it's got a weird sound.
Yeah. So and you don't like it. It just turns to mud.
Yeah.
So you can go outside and you can throw that shit against the wall of your house. Don't ask me how I know. And it just becomes mud.
Don't ask me how I know, she said. Nobody asking.
Right. Yeah.
Not a single person. She don't know the answer. Mystery of the universe.
I'm a great person to know if you ever want to work out a little bit of rage. You don't need to book a rage room. I just guarantee I've got some pots to break.
Oh my goodness. How sweet of you to share that luxury.
Yeah.
So, do you enjoy making the cutesy stuff?
Yes. Yes. I mean, I'm not going to make it.
Because it's a change of pace?
Yeah. I'm not going to make something if I don't enjoy it.
Fair.
So the cups, I do get tired with the cups.
Yeah.
Everyone wants, when you're selling at a market, that's what sells. Everyone wants a mug.
Yeah.
And as a potter, if you're gonna go to markets, you really
should probably have some mugs.
You need to make some mugs. But they're not the fine art. And so I get tired of it. I want to do the fine art. I want to do the creepy shit. I want to do
Right, that's the stuff that you wake up, have it in your mind already.
Yeah, exactly. The stuff that's a bit provocative, maybe. Yeah.
The stuff that makes people go, ugh, why?
Yeah, especially my mother.
Yeah, well, that's a good indicator. Yeah.
I posted a reel on Instagram not too long ago that was one of my Dark Witch mugs. And my mom was like, well, the reel was really nice, but I hate it.
So your mom follows you on social media?
She does, yeah.
How sweet of her.
Yeah.
So brave for her to just subscribe to all the things she doesn't want to see.
Right.
Oh, goodness. So do you get such animated reactions at the markets and stuff when you show this stuff?
Yeah. There's a guy with my monster steins. He came. There's a guy who came by and he's like, my friend and we've walked past a couple of times, and my friend is scared of your.
Oh my goodness!
And and I'm gonna bring him over here. Can you just razz him for a little bit?
What a good friend!
Yeah.
I would be that guy. Just so you know, I would be that guy. Really, really torque him up a bit.
Yeah, exactly.
So what did you do?
Oh,
If you remember.
I just I tried really hard to sell him a mug while he just looked horrified.
Absolutely disgusting.
Yeah, exactly. Sheer disgust, like talking about how it's going to be whispering from his cabinet at night.
Oh my god, it's like the heart under the floorboard.
Yeah, exactly.
That's great. That I would feel so complimented on a sale I didn't make if that was the case. Yeah, it's hard to convert those sales. Those people are stubborn.
Yeah,
Oh my goodness.
you're not gonna get there. Yeah, you could at the markets you could see the people who walk by and don't like it.
Oh right, because they usually go like this.
Yeah. They lean
Recoil
away.
in horror.
They
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 shake
don't
their
make eye
head.
contact.
They look at their friend and they're like, "Ooh, look at this," and then their friend's like, "Oh man,
That's
so cool."
that's cool. I have there's a. I definitely have a type that I can see coming at markets, and it's usually taller bearded men like yourself, and
Don't tell everybody what I look
yeah,
like.
I'm sorry.
I'm supposed to be a secret.
Like the more Viking they look, the more likely they are to buy.
To buy a
what
Stein. Yeah, I believe that. I really do. You've never seen me with braids, but maybe one day.
And I definitely have weirded at least a couple of them out because they'll walk up and be like, "You look like a guy who wants a monster Stein." He's like, How did you know?" And I'm like,
It's like me and my Chihuahua do not want these things. Goodness. But I wish I could say that about my customers because I never know who's going to buy my shit.
Yeah.
I never know. They usually come dressed colorfully, but that's about the only assumption I could make. Otherwise, it's in the wind. I have no clue. Oh my goodness. So, do you have any markets around town you like to set up at? Where can people normally find you if you're doing market stuff?
I love to be at the Schultzbrow markets because they have like these booths that are already built, which are really nice.
Oh, the ones against the wall of the main. Yeah. You're right.
So they have like a Christmas market. That's where I did my best. So there's CreepyCon, which I will definitely be making some beer steins for.
I'm gonna need to see those.
Oh yeah.
Because CreepyCon is really cool.
Yeah. I last year I was like a little bit too late for the deadline to sign up for CreepyCon. I was really sad.
But now you know exactly.
Now I know when it is. Yeah.
You know what's up now.
Yeah. And there's the Dark Market, which is another good one. Those tend to be like single night markets.
Yep.
And so I did the Halloween one this past year and did great there. I was making a bunch of cauldrons then, and I make little monster feet.
How big are we talking with those cauldrons?
They're good size, like
volleyball size.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Like so, I did make some like little ones because not everyone wants to buy a giant cauldron for a lot of money, but
Who doesn't need a giant cauldron?
I know, right? Well, I had like so many people come by at the Dark Market specifically, be like, "Ooh, I need this for my altar." It's like I have found my
right.
my
yes,
people.
of course you need this for your altar. Absolutely. Put your incense and trinkets in here, please.
Exactly.
Yeah. So those are the markets. Do you do any like live events that aren't markets? Do you is there any way you can do any of this in the public?
No, pottery's
Or
hard
would
to do
you?
in the public. I would totally would. I mean, there are potters who like bring wheels out, out in public. They're just really freaking heavy.
Yeah, that's true.
And I tend to throw like a little tabletop wheel. I throw two big pieces for that. That's like I'm gonna eat that thing. Like it will not stand up to the abuse I'm gonna put it through.
So you're pretty heavy-handed on the wheel.
Yeah, because it's part of the challenge thing.
Right.
Like I want to throw bigger pieces, and yeah.
So do you see big heavy-duty wheels and you're like, oh my god, let me on that thing?
Yeah. My favorite until I moved into this studio space where I now have my own wheel. My favorite wheel out there, like you could pull a truck out of a ditch with that motor. I mean, it was my favorite one because it doesn't. If you're trying to center a big piece of clay, which that's the point where you're really just battling the clay because
right.
you've got to muscle it into.
Because when
submission.
you literally toss it on there, you're literally tossing it and it's not centered. You have to move it around to get it centered on the wheel.
To make it like this nice smooth lump. And that one I loved just because it would take whatever abuse I could throw at it.
And you could really just throw your elbows in it, just get on it.
I was throwing 25-pound pots on it.
I just want to see you with like a big hunk of clay over your head and just
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I want to see that so bad.
One of those was the ones I exploded. Was the one I exploded. It was
The one.
Yeah, it was the one. I threw a big 25-pound bowl and I didn't let it dry all the way.
So is that normally how you refer to the size of things? Like
Yeah.
what weight of clay you started with?
That's
Okay.
exactly that. Yeah, that's.
So when you say you threw a 25-pound bowl, that means you made a bowl out of 25 pounds
Yeah.
of clay to start with.
Yeah.
And then you have a bowl that weighs 6 or 7 pounds, whatever it is after that.
It'd be a big bowl like that would probably still be 10 pounds.
Okay, so
or
you're
plus.
not taking away that much.
Yeah, no, I'm not certain. I mean, a lot of it is water. What goes away is water weight, and
Yeah.
then you put more weight back in with, especially on those big pieces where you're not going to be like taking off a lot. You're not going to be doing much on the trimming, if at all. And so it kind of is what it is when you throw it. And then so water goes away, but then you put more back in with the glaze because you're putting the glass
Right.
back in. Yeah.
So the subtractive part of this process wasn't as extreme as I was expecting it to be. But so to me, this is one of the really cool things where you can employ additive and subtractive processes on the same piece.
Yeah.
And I love that because anytime you turn something or machine it or craft it, it's usually a subtractive process.
Yeah.
And most people are really familiar with subtractive processes.
Yeah.
Because that's what happens a lot in industry and in a lot of creative practice. But, if you're painting on these things or drawing or adding to them in any way, that's an additive process that is a separate thing entirely.
Yeah.
It's a whole different workflow from carving stuff off or moving stuff around.
That's one of the things I do like about even the more cutesy lamps. Is that I'm it turns out this kind of bas relief look, where it goes in, it goes out, and it's just this kind of yin yang thing that gets going. It's really appealing.
Yeah, the yin yang zen part of it, because there's a balance you got to strike with it.
Yeah.
Do you have any pieces that have just been a fight from beginning to end?
Oh yeah.
As she leans back and looks for it.
I'm looking at my lamps. So the first big kind of flat bowl that I did, that one was a battle.
You say flat, you mean shallow,
Yeah,
short
shallow.
sides?
Yeah, big shallow bowl. That certainly was a fight. And any kind of stacked pieces. So when you're doing like really big pieces, you throw part of it, and then you throw another part, and you join them together on the wheel. So when I'm working on,
is that like top to bottom or like edge to edge kind of thing?
Yeah, you like flip it over,
Okay.
and and it's this very nerve-wracking moment where you're flipping this thing over, and it's like, oh, please don't.
So
please don't fall.
how do you you have to get those lined up, right?
Yeah.
How do you
it's hard. yeah.
I can only imagine how many ways this goes wrong.
Yeah, so many.
Yeah.
And so with the bigger lamp, something I'm working on is trying to do stacked porcelain pieces, just because I got to make it.
Because
the
you
most
might as
difficult.
well
Right.
if you're
yeah,
going to shoot for the moon here.
Exactly.
You said it yourself.
Make it as difficult as I can. So those are battles. Yeah. Because porcelain it really just wants to be thrown kind of all in one piece, and it doesn't necessarily want to be thrown very big, and because it's just not strong enough.
Right.
It's a very weak clay.
So when you join pieces of porcelain, how much of a pain in the ass is it compared to
enormous
compared to normal clay?
Yeah. The normal. So there's porcelain and there's stoneware, and the stoneware is like use your normal clay, and that it's stoneware because it actually has like ground up stone in it. And so it has like a little, it's got some muscle to it, and that, when I go back to working with stoneware and trying to throw big with stoneware, it's like, oh,
So you really got to lay into
this
this.
hard on myself. Yeah.
So are these fights always lessons? You learn something
Yeah,
every time?
Every time.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. And it's, it's kind of one of the great things about pottery is that, you know, you flop a pot, oh well, it's just clay. Like,
That reminds me of when I first started operating a Zamboni. Eventually, you're gonna screw something up,
right.
Because it happens no matter what, and
Yeah.
whatever process you do, you're gonna screw something up. Well, I screwed something up, and I was really upset and hard on myself about it. And then my boss at the time was just like, "Dude, what the fuck? Just throw some water on it. It's ice."
Yeah. Yeah. What?
So here I am beating myself up, being all serious about it. He's just like, "Oh, dude, whatever, throw
Right.
water on it."
Yeah.
I'm just like, "You son of a bitch."
Yeah, no, like this is not life or death.
No.
With pottery, you know.
Right.
Like,
Just throw some water on it.
it's a lot lower stakes certainly than, you know, back in my medical exploration days, and and as a nuclear physicist, it's, you know, so it's kind of that is nice. It's like, just clay.
So we talked about work influencing your art.
Mm-hmm.
So what about art influences your work? Is there any clear delineation between those two statements, or is it all just kind of one big overlappy Venn diagram without too much distinction one way or the other?
There's not a lot of distinction one way or the
So
other.
they both influence each other
Yeah.
all the time
Yeah.
in a bunch of different ways.
Yeah, I mean, it is, you know, and I'm getting a little artsy fartsy here, but there are two parts of my soul, you know, and so they're not really separable for me.
Yeah. So what was the last thing, if you can name it, where
Yeah.
art found its way into your work?
I mean, just today I'm working on developing a detector, next generation detector. It's called a fission chamber, to go inside of a nuclear reactor. And I'm up on my board and I'm trying to draw the detector because I'm trying to simulate it and using this Monte Carlo code. And I'm like, you know, I'm using my art skills to wrap my brain around how I'm going to transform it from my brain into computer code and you know, model it in kind of this 3D
So you've got to
realistic.
figure out what shape this physical item needs to be to do the
and how all
job.
the pieces fit together, and yeah.
Has anybody ever looked at you at work and been like, "What do you do when you're not here?"
They all know at this point. Like, I'm very well known as the pottery lady.
Have people
the
looked at
nuclear
you and
potter.
like, "She's had a day. She's gonna go spend some stuff later.
Yeah, they all know. Like, what are you doing this weekend, Callie? I'm gonna be in the studio.
I'm gonna make a really big bowl."
Yeah, exactly. I've had enough of this. I'm gonna go. You know,
I'm gonna go make some bowls.
I'm gonna make some bowls. Yeah. Absolutely.
So, well, it pleases me to hear that how those two things work together is a little more fluid than what I expected.
Yeah.
Not that I came into this with a lot of expectations,
Yeah.
but it is fun to see that.
I do. So I do make cups. You know, as easy and kind of, you know, as easy and as accessible and fun as they are to make, just as kind of like a little, you know, it's like a little potato chip, you know, something just to
Yeah.
quickly eat, quickly do. I make a lot of cups, especially when we're doing a wood firing, because you need to stack things in there in a certain way. It has to have like
So
a certain
the
feel
volume
factor.
helps.
Yeah, exactly. So you got to make big things, the little things, and whatnot. So I make a lot of cups, and so after every wood firing, I give cups away to my coworkers. So like eventually, everyone who I work with is going to have a coffee cup.
That sounds good to me.
Yeah. So you know, they're all very well aware of, you know, like when I say I'm going to do a wood firing, oh, can I have the next cup?
Yeah. Well, none of my coworkers have any of my paintings.
Yeah. Oh no.
None of them. I have gifted.
Sorry, coworkers.
I'm not apologizing for it. They like different pretty things than I make, and that's fine. But
I don't give them the macabre shit.
Oh, see, there you go. It's like, no, this one's going to the dark market, and you ain't that kind of
Right,
cool.
yeah. No, they get like the simpler cups where I'm like testing out some glaze and like, you know, that turned out cool. And
Well,
here you go.
I always enjoy receiving the experimental stuff anyway. Like, I have
Yeah.
a friend that makes custom clothes, and anytime I place an order with her, I'm just like, hey, if there's some tricky shit you want to try, like,
Yeah.
please
Right.
do this with my order if you feel like it
Yeah.
fits the process. And normally she's like, yeah, yeah, there's some stuff. We'll talk about
Right.
it. And I'm just like, run it, go. Yeah.
As
Sounds
potters,
great.
we have like this thing called firsts and seconds, so that's one of the pottery terms.
Right.
And the firsts are like the perfect pieces that are, you can sell. Maybe they're probably your fine art pieces, and
Yeah, that language carries over into glass as well.
yeah, oh yeah,
Yeah.
okay, yeah. So you're
Yeah,
you totally got
I'm up
that.
on that one.
Yeah. So
the,
like
the flop is that,
Yeah, yeah.
that's the one that got me. That's the one that got me.
But like I'll to coworkers, to friends, to whoever, like all the seconds, I'm just like, people's over like, no more cups, like, no more plates, Callie.
I've not had anybody tell me they're full up on their gallery is full of my work. I've not had
my
anybody
mother
say
has
that.
told me that.
Well, I'm sure she's also told you plenty of other things.
Oh yeah,
Like, ooh, that's gross. Don't bring that in my house.
yeah, no, she doesn't. She does not want the macabre things. No, but like my mom's been like, I have enough faces now, Callie.
My cupboards are staring at me. I hear them moan every
No,
time I shut the door.
I think it's the tabletops, because they all got to be out. Of the yeah.
So, if I can put you on the spot,
Yeah.
what's next?
What is okay? So I'm so enchanted with these fucking lamps. So,
It's hard to think past the
yeah,
lamps right now.
I'm gonna do the lamps for a while, but oh gosh, what is after the lamps? I mean, I'm gonna.
Well, if there's nothing after the lamps, if the lamps are the thing right now, that's a
things are the
perfectly
thing right
acceptable
now.
answer.
Yeah, like I'm really into the lamps at the
Yeah.
moment. Yeah, I'll definitely be making more beer steins because I'm pretty much sold out of those.
Yeah.
And I love them. They speak to my creepy soul. And and those do great at markets too. Yeah, but that's the lamps are the big thing.
That's the thing right now?
Right now,
That's
yeah.
what's holding all of your attention.
Yeah, come talk to me in a few months. I'm sure I'll be completely enchanted with something entirely new. Yeah.
Well, don't tempt me,
Yeah.
because I will ask. So, the lamps.
Mm-hmm.
They're the thing right now. They're the challenge. These are
Yes.
like the crutch of your existence
Yes.
right
yeah,
now
yeah,
as
yeah.
a creative person.
Make or break me. Yeah.
Yeah. You ever come home from like some time in the studio and you
Yeah.
just like collapse and you're just like,
Oh,
oh, it
yeah.
kicked my ass today.
Well, because I come here and I enter into this like timeless space, and if I'm gonna leave at a certain time, I'm setting an alarm.
I just noticed the clock on the wall doesn't work.
Oh yeah.
So it is literally a
Yeah,
timeless space.
The time where the space where there's no time.
It's only right twice a day.
Yeah. So like I'll come here, meaning to do, I don't know, to stay a couple hours, do something quick, and then it's 12 hours later, and like, oh fuck, it's dark.
So
And, like,
do you have to be really careful not to come here after work?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I still do.
You got to be a little more on top
Yeah,
of it.
yeah. Like I try not to come here after work on days where I've like already, where I've stayed late.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to be too tired, and like you don't throw well or do any kind of pottery well when you're too
Right.
tired. It's just, it
Your
requires.
brain and body just isn't in it.
Yeah, exactly. You need like you can't, or have had too much caffeine. Like you need a certain amount of stability. Yeah.
So we'll ask this, and then
Yeah.
I'll ask one more question, and then we'll be good.
Cool.
What does a good creative day look like for you?
Good creative day.
Yeah, if there's
Yeah.
any way to sum that up in one answer, then that's what I'm asking.
I wake up. I don't have to get up early.
Bless.
Because I normally start work at 7 a.m. So I wake up and it's light outside. It's fabulous. I have a nice breakfast. I come in, and then I have in mind kind of what my general goal is for the day, and I just immerse.
Yeah.
And and then it's hours later, and I'm calm, and I'm
All of a sudden, you realize you're hungry and thirsty and need to go to the
well,
bathroom.
yeah. No, really. No, really.
That's
I
exactly
don't,
how it works for me too.
yeah, like I don't eat, I don't drink, I don't go to the bathroom, and all of a sudden I'm like, why do I feel like I'm dying?
Yeah, why does my head hurt? Why does my belly yell at me? Like, why do I feel this way? And then you're like, oh, I haven't eaten, I haven't drinking. My body needs things.
Right.
I've ignored it.
Like,
Yeah,
why am I filled with sudden rage?
I know exactly what that's like. A small bit of a good creative day for me looks like I wake up, may or may not have breakfast
Yeah.
grab a mason jar full of water, and I go sit down at my desk, and I'm either like painting something or drawing something that I'm then going to embellish with paint, or I'm working on my computer for things that I'm doing on Photoshop or whatever, like digital art stuff
Yeah.
that I'm painting or coming up with graphic design things, or I'm doing 3D stuff to throw over onto my robot so it can print them.
Oh, cool.
And then it'll be like 3 p.m. after I sit down at the thing at like 9.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, why do I hurt?
Yeah. And it just like, the time is just gone.
Yeah.
But it's like,
where did it go? I have no questions. I have no answers.
And it's but it's the best.
But something happened. Here it is. Yeah.
And yeah, no, it's totally replenishing.
So, most and least favorite aspect of this medium. Those can be the same thing.
Yeah.
They might have to be.
That's a good question. So my least favorite thing is, you have such tight time windows for your pots that like when I walk away from them, I get stressed.
Oh yeah, because you're not right there on it.
Yeah, or I'll be like, I've got in the back of my brain, I've had a busy week at work or whatever, and I haven't been able to make it in all week, and I'm like, the pot's getting too dry. The pot,
it's in the back of your head.
It's in the back of my head. It's like, it's gonna be ruined, and it starts stressing me out. And so that is definitely my least favorite thing. And my most favorite thing, I think, is just as we've talked about, it's the immersiveness of it.
Just getting lost in it.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. And my last question: who are some people from around town that need to sit in your seat and talk to me?
I've got so many names.
Oh, drop them.
So there's Jeremy Miles. His studio is right behind us, and he makes these absolutely exquisite Afrofuturist masks that have like beading and oh my gosh. He did a show recently in the Emporium, and it's just incredible. Dawn Reed is another good one. Rose Downs, who's
currently sitting in her chair.
Yeah, sitting
Thanks,
in her chair.
Rose.
Yeah, so she does this crystalline pottery that you can see up there, where she grows these giant crystals in the glaze, and it's through this very careful glaze chemistry and firing schedule.
That sounds really nerdy, and I like it.
Oh yeah, and and she's been doing pottery for I think she's 50 years, and and she knows so much. She's my sensei. I mean,
you're about as close as somebody could get.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, right. We practically sit down on each other's laps here in this tiny little studio space. Yeah. No, it's when she invited me to share her studio space, I was like, yes.
You didn't want to sound too excited, but you were just like, absolutely.
So
Don't finish the sentence. The answer is yes.
Yeah. And Maggie Connolly would be another great artist, because she's got this very traditional training, and so she has a very different being trained in in Eastern ceramics, in Far Eastern ceramics. She's got a very interesting point of view on it.
All right, and since I forgot to tell you to do this at the top of the program, if you will tell us where to find you on the internet.
Yeah. So the best place to find me is on Instagram, where I am the Nuclear Potter.
No, is that all lowercase? No hyphens? No.
It's one. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. It's the all lowercase, the _nuclear_ Potter.
There we go.
Yeah.
That's the necessary information. All right. Well, Callie, thank you very much.
Thank you. This has been a pleasure.
Y'all, do the thing. I don't need to tell you, but you should share, rate, subscribe, blah, 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 blah. Y'all are the best listeners, and I greatly appreciate it. Y'all have a good day, and I'll talk at you next time.